So Clare IFA Chair and fecal farmer Stephen Walsh. Stephen, under good practice farming regulations, local authorities inspected 4,315 farms nationwide last year. As we have seen from the results from the EPA, 43% of these farms were found to be non-compliant with the relevant regulations. The main reasons for this are poor control of soiled water, discharges that affected water quality, and inadequate management of farmyard. To be more specific, we can see that the reasons for this are uncontrolled runoff from farmyard manure, inadequate management of silage pits, silage effluent discharging to groundwater, and clean water not properly segregated and soiled water not properly managed. Thankfully, we can say that the failure rate in Clare is much below the national average. It's at 25%. But still, Stephen, would you have a cause for concern there? That's still 1 in 4 farms.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, water quality is hugely important, and it's something that for all farmers, it's something that we have to be very concerned about and something that we have to improve. I mean, the farmers in the last number of years have put in huge investment, particularly in the low emission slurry spreading, and that's where how they spread slurry, and that there's less runoff by that method in terms of ammonia and that. But even I see under the grant scheme, the targeted agricultural measure under the grant scheme, that only 10% of farmers that applied under the last tranche got into that scheme. And I think certainly when farmers are trying to do their best, we need to find solutions to the problems that have been identified. And certainly one, I mean, the grant rate has to be higher. I know most of the others now were 75%, but I think the solar, and again, the solar is another area. I think that was down at 10%. I mean, it doesn't make sense. We have to be putting money in where we can get energy, obviously from the sun, and we need to support farmers in those measures. But like you said, I suppose, look, we can take some, like it's 25% in Clare, and even with with the way Clare is, there's a huge. I mean, I'm East Clare, and I mean, there's the volume of rivers and lakes and waters. So a huge amount of area we have to be very particular, and especially now we're hopefully going to get a glimpse of fine weather in the next few days, and farmers will be out cutting silage, and silage runoff is a huge issue, and especially now when the volume of water in the grass. So I suppose we need to be asking farmers, be aware that this will be an issue, runoff from cutting silage. Have your tank lowered so it can take the volumes of runoff that will be in grass. And look, we saw the volumes of water. It's very difficult to get this right, but it's still not an excuse. We have to do everything we possibly can, and we need, I suppose, better targeted support in terms. And I see that nearly 48% compliant rate on the second inspection. Yeah, good news that when farmers are being inspected, finding issues that they're solving them, but probably even the other 25%. Maybe studying, well, why weren't they fixed? Is it the cost is too high? And a comment was made to me once. There was one shopkeeper getting a lot of awards, and they were teasing the local superstore. Or, well, why wasn't he getting them? And the comment he made, well, it's easy keeping an empty cow house clean. So an empty cow house is not what we're after here. We're about solving the situations. We're about trying to find solutions to these issues and problems, and absolutely getting the highest quality water we can in County Clare.
Yeah, and just to, I suppose, finally address that, it's that of the 25% of inspections in Clare that failed, there was 221 inspections in Clare last year. That includes follow-up. So that's basically 54 farms in Clare that failed inspection last year. And look, when you say it like that, that is quite a large number.
It is, but I mean, we don't know. What was it? Just a chute that wasn't fixed. We don't know the levels of non-compliance, and I suppose we need the detail of that figure. I mean, we have to know exactly how we can solve the situations, and if a farmer has to invest 40, 50, 100,000 in solving a scenario, well, then the business itself may not be able to sustain that. So we have to be able to assist him and find measures of assisting them in solving those issues, because what we really don't want is to put them out of business. What we do want is to see that they remain in business, but they also do remain compliant in these issues.